Hey, Rakib, how you going today?
Hey, Trace. Welcome back. Loving the new change of costume outfit there. Is it the Roady outfit?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a sneak peek in what's in store today. If you don't know this brand, there's something going wrong.
I'll be surprised if no one knows them. They're all over social media these days.
They are all over social media. And you know what's really cool about them is that they're doing work with Tourism New Zealand. They're doing work with RTOs like Northland, Marlborough, West Coast. And they're about to come back on another journey, and they're about to start doing a big campaign on the top of the South. But that is a secret, Rakib.
Oh, wow. We can't let everyone know. But I think you just let it out, didn't you? You just told everyone.
Yes, but we are... Yep, definitely. So, Rakib, I'm really excited. These guys are doing amazing work, especially in the content creation space.
Yes.
And for me, lucky old me who's in Marlborough, we get to see them again. So Destination Marlborough is bringing them back down to do a workshop on social media, which we're super excited about. But let's get them in.
It'll be so good for the region.
It is. And we've already done one before, so let's get them in. So I'm looking forward to introducing Roscoe and Johnny. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Kia ora. Trace, we're meeting.
I know. I just...
He's sucking up.
I didn't get the memo. Damn.
I know.
Maybe I need to get one as well now.
I stole your jumper from your suitcase, Johnny, last time you were down here. That's why you don't have one either, because it's just the perfect size, right?
Yeah, extra large.
Actually, that was the weight I was pre the last lockdown. So I've lost a little bit since then. Hey, guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
You know, we've had a chance to do a little bit of work with you in Marlborough. And as I mentioned before, you're coming back down to Marlborough as part of Destination Marlborough's capability workshops to teach operators how to do social media, because really right now you guys are hot in that space. But before we kind of go into the technical side of why you're here, I'd really love to hear the journey that Roady has kind of taken to this point.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us, guys. It's cool to be here and talk a little bit about Roady and the journey and social media. So yeah, looking forward to coming back down on Saturday as well. The Roady journey. So I guess about 4 years ago, I started Roady, and I got back from overseas, you know, doing the classic Kiwi thing over in the UK, bit of travel around, and got back, and I guess like a lot of other Kiwis hadn't had a lot of travel around New Zealand. You know, hardly really even explored the South Island, which was a bit of an injustice when you'd been all over these places around Europe and you hadn't really explored your own backyard. But as we all know, there's a lot of Kiwis in that boat. So yeah, I kind of set out to explore and start planning a road trip through the South, and I just realized how difficult it was to actually plan a trip and really personalize that trip. You know, a lot of the recommendations that you get on Google and stuff are those really sort of generic touristy sort of experiences, and I was wanting those more local experiences and the sort of that local knowledge to really piece together a trip based on some of the experiences that I'd had overseas, and that was really difficult. So I started Roady and had this idea of bringing that whole New Zealand road trip to life and making the road trip more easy for travellers coming to New Zealand. And it pretty much started with me just documenting some of my travels on social media pages and writing information about some of these things I was finding. And then I was putting together these self-drive tours, which are vehicle accommodation and itinerary packages for internationals coming to New Zealand, and just making it really easy for that road trip to happen. You know, they'd arrive in Auckland, they'd have all their accommodation booked and activities mapped out, and would really customise the itinerary to them based on what their interests were and what they wanted to see. So it was going well. We had a lot of people that were jumping on board, and we were getting some really good feedback. But one thing we did notice was just how manual it was putting together these tours for these travellers. Like we were getting such great feedback because our tours were so personalised to each group, but the man time behind that, putting those together, just wasn't really too scalable. So that's when I guess at that point we kind of got hit with the whole COVID-19, and it was a great opportunity for me to really just go back to the drawing board and I guess reevaluate the business model and think about how I can solve the same problem but for more people and do that at scale. And that's kind of what's led me down this path of developing an app. So we're building the Roady App, which we're hoping to launch later in the year, which basically helps people to find cool things to do all around the country. And it just makes that information, that local knowledge, really easy and accessible, and allows people to plan some pretty awesome trips. So that's the current project we're chipping away at. 1st of December is the date we've got. We were going to be hoping to launch it to a better audience, and then sometime probably around March, April next year will be our full launch nationwide.
I know that I'm definitely excited for it because I've been following the journey on Instagram with the whole development of the apps and like putting the itineraries together. It's great to see that you guys are doing it because I travel a lot, and the biggest challenge that I face is like putting an itinerary together. So the idea and the concept that you guys have behind the app, I'm definitely very excited for that.
Cheers. Yeah, I think, we did so much validation for this and just speaking to people about how they do go about putting together these travel itineraries, and there doesn't seem to be one really clear solution. It's a lot of people pulling information from here and social media, but you can't book through social media and just pulling things in Google Docs. And I just thought there must be an easier way. And obviously Roady has the visual side, so we're hoping to sort of bring a lot of that into the app and kind of inspire these places through our photography and through our videography that we're planning to populate the app with.
Nice. Obviously, COVID, you mentioned COVID earlier and how you gave you guys time to kind of plan everything, but also how, like, your content, it's bloody amazing seeing stuff on your Instagram page. It's so inspiring to a lot of us. How do you guys go about like planning and being motivated during lockdown when, things are shut off, you can't really be out there? How do you guys plan the content that goes out there?
I guess we're fortunate in a sense that because we're able to travel regularly, we've got sort of big banks of content, and I'm sure Johnny would, be very much in the same boat. We've got these hard drives full of content that we ignore a lot of it at the time. You pull out your sort of best stuff, but COVID almost gave us a chance to go back through those hard drives and pull out those little gems that, we hadn't really touched. Because, as we know, social media is such a time-consuming thing. So just finding enough to manage is taxing as it is, but when you get that kind of break, we're able to sort of relook at some content and also just shoot some stuff around your hometown. I know Johnny got some really cool shots of Wellington that were pretty deserted over the lockdown period, which you just don't see. I remember some of those, and I tried my best to get up some of the local walks, and I'd always make sure I was getting up there at sunset so you could try and snap something pretty good up the top.
So, Roscoe, I've known you for a while, and when we first met, it was just you. And you were running this show, and you were running the tours, and you were building up your social media profile. And over time, you've formed some really great partnerships. And Johnny is definitely one of those key contributors to the brand. So I want to kind of ask you both, because Johnny, you also do a lot of work in that influencing space, also personally and also for businesses that you work with. Between the two of you, how do you create these partnerships, or where do you even begin to find amazing people? Do you guys just go to a bar one day and just go, hey, I can take a photo. Hey, I'm good with words. How does it work?
I think the social media space is pretty helpful in that regard. You can kind of, in your niche, you can really sort of work out who the key players are and who's putting out sort of content that you think is, from a Roady perspective, like on brand. And I discovered Johnny's Instagram profile and just thought his work looked amazing. And we've sort of had several conversations around how we might be able to work together on some of these projects. And obviously with a lot of the work that Roady does is based around going to different regions and working a lot with RTOs. And I guess the two main criteria for me are, one, obviously that content has to be super professional and high quality, because that's what we sort of base ourselves on. But it's also about finding like-minded people. Me and Johnny are going to spend 14 days on the road together. You got to have someone that you can have a beer with at the end of the day, and also just to be authentic and really we focus on capturing the good times out on the road. And if you don't have that sort of good relationship with someone, it can be really difficult. So I'm lucky in the sense that obviously Johnny's done some excellent work with us. We've got Nani as well, who is another regular that we use to collaborate with on some of these trips. Johnny,
do you feel the same, Johnny? Do you feel the same?
Oh, 100%. Me and Roscoe we've only sort of known each other sort of properly for a short amount of time, but feels like we're brothers already. But I guess just like adding to what Roscoe was saying, even going back in terms of like some of the opportunities that I've been offered have just come from just the love of like creating content and taking photos and making videos and posting for myself, like without expectation of getting anything from it. I think, if you kind of take a leaf out of that book, you kind of put on like the curation hat naturally. And that's what I think a lot of like brands and businesses want to see is like curation in that space. And they look at the content that you can make and they say, yep, that's something that can fit within our brand. Let's engage on a contract, or let's work on a partnership together.
Yeah. I think one thing that's really nice with you guys is that you share each other's, like, obviously Roady as a brand is really strong. So Johnny, you do see you sharing Roady's brand quite often, but I want to ask you a question. And on the weekend, someone actually put in the stories that they look up to you as an influencer when it comes to content. How did that feel?
That was that was actually pretty trippy. That's the first time I've ever had somebody nominate me for anything like that on a page that had 3 million followers or something crazy, and it's a page that I'd already followed too. So like to see my name pop up on that, it was really special. And I had that person actually reach out and say, hey, this is actually me that put your name forward for it. And she's like, I just really love the content and thank you so much. And I was just like, look, seeing this kind of stuff just means that it's almost just like an encouragement to keep going out and keep creating stuff just like I'm doing. I had somebody hit me up yesterday like, hey, like you posted up that panorama, like can you do a tutorial video on how to stitch together a panorama properly? And like being able to actually like work with my audience like directly, like becoming accessible actually gives me ideas and content to be able to make also, which just kind of keeps snowballing and compounding.
I'm lucky you know who that person was that commented, because I was going to say it was probably Tracy. She's a big fan. Every time you post something new, she's like, did you see it? I'm like, yep, saw it.
Oh, Trace, my cheerleader.
I feel like I'm a little, I've actually said this to Roscoe, I feel like I'm his number one mum fan. And so I always out there supporting Roscoe and Roady. And Johnny, I will confess, I absolutely adore the voiceover you did for the Kapiti Island bird story. There was something deep and sensual about that voice that you did on that. If you haven't seen it, please go to Johnny's Instagram page, check out his IGTV and have a listen. You are the next, you're out. Yeah, just what's the guy that does the nature stories?
David Attenborough.
David Attenborough. Yes, that's where you are.
That's a big compliment on its own.
It's a huge. That's an accolade. That's an accolade in itself.
He tries to pull that.
I know we talked about. You mentioned audiences earlier, and like algorithms and things always change on social media. How do you guys make the content that you guys produce also like in your bucket as well? How do you make sure that it stays relevant with the changing and evolving of social media every day?
I think I guess the biggest involvement and current opportunity in the social space at the moment is in short form video content. Obviously, we're seeing a big the immersion of TikTok and Instagram Reels, and now YouTube Shorts is sort of coming to the party. And I think that is where the huge opportunity is for brands, companies, individuals to really get massive reach and grow their platform. And I think as well, to me, it makes a lot of sense, because I think people are, there's always going to be a place for photography and beautiful photos. Reels and short form video gives you a great opportunity to bring a bit more personality to a lot of your videos. And it's also, it goes with every stat that we've been hearing about social media, that people don't have long, what's it called? We can't commit to long video, short attention span, people are trying to say. Which is lending itself to these short little 10 to 15 second videos in a world that you can just swipe to the next one. It makes a lot of sense to me. And, we noticed that with our longer form videos that we were posting prior to Reels and stuff coming out, they were getting pretty average reach and pretty average return on our investment of time in them. But now we can post a 15-second Reel, and it's just the highlight of the activity, and the reach is amazing, in the millions for some of our posts.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because I know that at your last workshop you were showing people how to compile one of these short videos, but you guys just have such an amazing eye for pulling together content. It's really interesting. And we had a bit of a snoop at your stats, and your TikTok is just going through the roof in comparison to your other platforms. And do you I imagine that you're putting that down to the success in your short form video that you guys are pulling together. I mean, I feel like it's like it's when you suck on a lolly and it's just got all the punch in that first 15 seconds and then it loses flavor later. You guys are just nailing that 15 seconds.
Yeah, I think gone are the days of the video where you build up to your best shot. And when it comes to Instagram Reels, you're open with your best foot forward. So it's almost a case of going through all your content that you shot from that one activity or whatever you're shooting and going, what was my best shot? Let's put this in the first 3 seconds, because if you don't execute in those first 3 seconds, the user's got a billion other videos they can swipe and watch. So you've got to
I guess like just to add to that as well, like that in terms of the storytelling side of it, like that it suits that environment, making those videos top heavy, putting your best shots first, and kind of like enticing the viewer to just like keep watching, because that's what they're there to do. They're there to swipe, and they're there to swipe to the next one, and they're there to swipe to the next one. And I think there's a real like obviously decreasing like need for that kind of like long form storytelling, but it's not to say that it's completely gone. Like I guess if you are looking to like make a video for like YouTube where you're expecting to have a captive audience, or you're making a video for your website where people are going to your website and they're expecting to be on there to find something out, then that's when you can still kind of create those like longer form videos and that sort of meaningful storytelling.
I guess for you, Johnny, you dabble in obviously in this social media space, but you also do work for other types of clients, and does that change when you're working for different people or for different platforms per se? I mean,
100%. Yeah, 100%. I guess, I've got like corporate-y kind of clients and that kind of thing, and they're not so much looking to, get
open with their best foot. They
They just TikTok relevant.
Nah. I do a lot of wedding videos as well, and of course that's just a big storytelling piece. But then there's lots of doing stuff with Roady, or I do a lot of stuff with TJ Perenara and the All Blacks, and it's both obviously Instagram dominated content. So of course you need to like deliver what the audience is wanting from that, and that is that kind of that Reels, that short form, that kind of quick. They want to get something quick from it, like it's just a quick fix, a quick feed, and then on to the next thing.
So, can I just throw something in? So, sorry, Rakib, we hadn't pre-planned this, and quite often I put my foot in and don't do things according to plan. You've gone from short form video to a podcast. Is that like a mess in itself, because you've gone from visual to verbal? Because we keep seeing lots of photos of it, but how have you found that transition from video to audio?
Yeah, podcasting is always something that kind of just wanted to experiment with and dabble with. And it was actually on, I think, the last Marlborough tour potentially that me and Johnny were on together, and we're having a beer at Punga Cove in the spa. And I think Johnny mentioned that he was quite interested in starting his own podcast, and I mentioned that I'd had the idea around Roady starting a podcast, and we kind of just put 2 and 2 together and thought, why don't we just have a crack, and Johnny can come on and kind of be the host of the podcast. And we wanted to use it, I guess, a little bit away from just our sort of normal travel content, but to really sort of bring the user on the journey as we build this app. So obviously with Facebook and Instagram and TikTok posts, it's hard to go right into depth with, I guess, what you're doing and some of the decision making, whereas in a 20-minute podcast you can really kind of dive a bit deeper into some of that. And the plan of our podcast is really just to bring the user along for the ride and to get that feedback as we're building this thing, because a lot of people don't really sending in, oh, I really like that idea, or I don't think I'd use that function of the app, and that's really helpful for us as well. So I think it also makes the user feel like they're part of the journey, so that when we do launch this thing, they're somewhat invested in this process, because that's a lot of what social media is bringing people along on the journey rather than just posting the end product. And I think that whole relatability piece to social media is huge.
Yep.
That and it's you get so much out of a podcast as well. Like, we're it does take a couple of hours to record, but what we get out of just using our voices as the content, you get so much from it. You just get to talk, and you've got a piece of content. So it's just repurposing something that's already there and turning it into like a piece of content that people can consume. I'm going to mark it right here. Actually, me and Roscoe have had this conversation. I'm going to mark right here in like 10 years time, it's going to go from Reels videos to just Reels audio clips. And you're just going to be like listening, because you don't even need to watch it. You can just like listen to like 15 seconds of like audio. 10 years. I'm calling it now.
10 years. All right. We'll make it.
And I think it's also a good point, like the whole repurpose of it. You can break that podcast into little clips, or you can turn them into banners and things that you can later on use in social media as like nuggets, tips, So I totally see where you're coming from.
Yeah,
exactly.
We've been doing that just with little sort of snippets to try and get a bit of interest and try and drive people to download the potty. And just one more point on the potty as well. I think one key difference between video content.
Can we just pronounce? I'm Aussie, right? Can you just clearly say? Is it potty or potty? Sorry.
Bloody Aussies, I tell you.
I lost my train of thought. No, I was saying the key difference between video content as well and podcast content, podcast content. With video, you can't really, you can't watch video content or engage with photo content while you're mowing the lawn or while you're driving. With podcast, you can tune in while you're walking to work, or you can tune in when you're vacuuming the house or doing this. And I think that's the opportunity, is like people can engage with your content even while they're doing other tasks.
I will confess that table was built listening to your podcast. So I just want to say that I'll put my hand up to that. I was.
Awesome.
I was. Yeah. And then I missed a few bits because I put the wrong bars in the wrong place. So there was a few swear words whilst you guys were talking as well.
Cool. Well, I would love to know from both of you guys one tip for any business or influencer that might be listening in to this live tomorrow. One tip that you guys would love to share with them.
Come on, Roscoe.
You want me to start?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, yeah. I can start. My number one tip would just be keep creating. Like, just you only get better by doing it more. It's like the creativity is like a muscle that you need to kind of keep working, and you're only going to improve that by creating, by putting stuff out there, and by getting reactions. Jump on Facebook Live and record something. Jump on Instagram Live. Who cares if you're only getting like one or two viewers? Like, who cares? That's one or two viewers you didn't have before you didn't do the Instagram Live, So the whole point is just keep creating, post photos, like let people into the life of your brand or business, make yourself accessible, and share your expertise and share knowledge. And you've just got to be active on social.
I've got one question, Johnny, so maybe you can give me some advice. Lockdown last year, I decided that every day I would do a Instagram Live and I'd do a video. My followers actually went down.
What were you sharing?
I don't know. It wasn't OnlyFans. I was not getting ready for OnlyFans. No, but I do totally agree with you. You don't need to tell me my content is crap. I'm okay.
It raises a really good point. Like maybe, and I'm not too sure. I haven't gone down the troves of Trace's content.
Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
But I think it probably just highlights just the importance of like mixing it up and just making sure that you're posting different forms of content. Maybe it is just like once a week you're doing that. If you're finding you're losing followers, then just change it up a bit, change up the strategy. But at the same time, if you're losing followers, those are followers you probably don't even want anyway. You know, the other ones that probably aren't liking your photo, and the other ones that actually bringing your engagement down. So if it can actually almost like feed those out, it actually concentrates your engagement and kind of
true. So 42 days of cat photos didn't do me any justice.
For some people, they would love that, but maybe.
No, actually, I have to confess, my cats do have an Instagram page, and they've got 5,500 followers. So they've done better than me.
Naturally, though.
Yeah. So Roscoe, your thoughts on that? Not my cat photos. No.
Just touching on what you guys have just discussed as well. I fully agree. I think 100 engaged followers is better than 1,000 unengaged followers. So if you're posting content and filtering a few people out, that's fine. You want to be posting about what you want to be posting about, and there's no point trying to adapt your content to fit something that you're not. You might as well keep putting the stuff out, and you attract the right people by doing that. So and to be honest, we've noticed that with Roady, with a few things that we've tried, like even the podcast. Sometimes we post around the podcast. We've seen a few numbers drop off, and I put that down to people like probably just the follower that cares about our travel tips and our content in that regard, but doesn't give a shit about how we're building this app and what we're doing in that space. So but that's fine. We'd rather have strong followers that care about everything. With Roady than
it does bring back that comment, and it's with any kind of marketing. It's you've got to be consistent. You've got to consistently do it. And look, you guys have an amazingly strong brand and your brand guidelines. You really stick to it. But for those businesses out there that are just starting out or trying to work out their place, I think, just looking at what you guys do, it's that consistency. And I will add, when you guys actually came and did your workshop here in Marlborough, I was totally inspired. I lasted about a week and realised how hard it was. Because you guys just pump out content all the time. It's just and anyone that thinks that social media is an easy gig, it's not.
No.
It's an ongoing beast.
It is.
Like Johnny said before, you got to love it. You've got to love that the content side, and I think that's why we do it, is because it's about the audience, but it's also just about the love for good content and good photography, which we get out of.
Yep.
The other thing to remember is that social media is free. It's free to use it. It's free to post stuff. The only thing that it's costing is like your time to make stuff, but it's free to just get something on there. If you're a cafe, you should have your whole menu on Instagram on your highlights. So that's the first thing I go to when I'm looking at a restaurant or cafe I want to go to. I go straight to their Instagram. I look at the food that they've got, and I go straight to the highlights to see if they've got a menu. Yeah, it's just it's that functionality that kind of brings that functionality in it on where an audience is existing.
I think that brings up an interesting point. Is the way that people use social media. So I wouldn't think to go to the highlights of Instagram for someone's menu, but I always go to a website and go to the social media because it shows me how engaged someone is to their business. So I guess we all use it in really different ways. Yeah.
For sure.
Well, guys, we've been going for 30 minutes and we like to kind of keep it around that time. I know that we could have lots more to talk to you guys about. I feel like you both, and more importantly you, Roscoe, are at the beginning of this business journey, and it's only just going to continue to grow. We love seeing what you're doing already. I'm super excited to have you both back to myself in Marlborough doing a workshop. I always learn something from both of you, so it's going to be really exciting to have you back down here as part of Destination Marlborough's workshop series. And that will be next Monday and Tuesday for those that are in Marlborough. And even if anyone's in Kaikoura or Nelson that want to come over, there's still some spots left for our social media course. But the mastermind, unfortunately, mastermind is sold out. No one can enter the mastermind. It is gone. It is done and it's dusted. So, guys, one last thank you. Really appreciate taking the time out of your busy schedule. Look forward to seeing the app. Johnny, I'll continue to follow your voice in many reels.
Of course you are.
forward. And Roscoe, I will be your number one fan on the sidelines. I'll be like soccer mum, right? So,
someone I can ring up
with the pom-poms.
Yeah. And Rakib, thank you for joining me today. This is our first time we've co-hosted together. So, guys, thank you for putting up with us. But for those watching, if you do like what we're talking about, please like, share, or just damn right follow. But if you do have any questions that you would like us to talk about, please send us a message. We love it when you reach out to us with topics. We've got a few banked up, and we've got a action pack scheduled till the end of the year. And so we hope you continue to follow us. But until then, everyone, stay safe. We'll see you later, guys.
See you later.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thanks, guys.